This man has just had such an extreme year and a half from the wilderness of the Inner Passage, and Michael wrote this fabulous book, Living with Killer Whales and Bald Eagles and the Kwakiutl Indians, called the Inside Passage. Then, after doing this for a year and a half, look at this. This is the November issue of Cosmopolitan Magazine, and then on the inside, the Bachelor of the Month, ladies and gentlemen, down there in the corner. You applaud. There are 3,000 letters. This woman's in her underwear. From women who have written him, "Hi, sexy. Dear Michael, you are fast." 3,000 letters and pictures and proposals and propositions from all over the world.
Including a young lady in Toronto who I came to see.
Who he's dating while he's here doing this show.
She happens to be in the audience
and
somewhere.
she's right there in the front row. Boy, this is unbelievable that this has happened.
Yes, I'm totally in shock.
And you love it.
But my mother doesn't like me anymore. She calls me up and she said, "What did I raise? Your brothers and sisters all have children, families, and you're the eldest in the family, and you've turned into a bachelor." It's like, "Oh, Mom, what's wrong with being a bachelor?"
So far, it's not so bad.
I know, but it gets worse because Alaska Men Magazine chose me for some reason to be the centerfold in the May issue.
Look at this, look at it. Oh,
well, I am. It's like, you know, I'm not going out asking for this to happen. It just, it sort of rolls along.
It's like I said to you before, though, you could have said no.
I know.
But it's just too much fun.
Well, I get to meet interesting women all over the world.
You answered every one of these letters.
Yeah,
but I didn't write.
I know. Really?
But, you know, if Mary and I had seen your picture, we probably would have.
Wow.
There's so much magic out there. This is wonderful. How did you get to be the Bachelor of the Month?
I was editing a friend's manuscript back in San Francisco, and she didn't even tell me, but she sent a letter to Helen Gurley Brown. And 2 months later, the phone rang at 7 in the morning, and it was Cosmo. And I laughed. I thought it was a gag. That one of
sure. Every time they phone me at 7 in the morning, I laugh and hang up too.
And I said, "Bachelor of the Month?" I go, "Who is this really?" And they said, "Here's the New York phone number. If you don't believe us, call us back." So I did.
And you answered all of these 3,000 women?
100, I'm about 200 short right now of answering back. And just saying, "Thank you for writing, send more material, I need to see your resume."
How many of these women have you met so far?
8. I'm very selective. All of my male friends, especially the married ones, they're going, "Oh my God, this is every man's fantasy."
Are you kidding? This is every man's fantasy.
Yes, to be a womanizer, collect a harem, you don't have to do anything, they fly in from all over the world.
Yeah.
But I don't look at it that way. Seriously, I don't.
How do you seriously look at it?
Because I think womanizing it's obscene. You know, I can't make love to a woman unless I'm connected spiritually. And I mean, the biggest erogenous zone we have is between the ears and not between somewhere else.
Yeah, but when you get 3,000 applicants that want to connect, you know, I mean, it's a pretty good start, huh?
Well, the funny thing is
here's my spiritual zone.
There's no difference between a male, I found this out, there's no difference between a male courting a female and a female courting a male. In that,
really?
A male suitor to go after a sweetheart would send her lingerie and flowers. The florist delivery truck just laughs. He comes up my driveway with pink roses from North Carolina and flowers from everywhere.
How many bouquets of flowers have you gotten?
I've gotten 22 bouquets.
And how much silk lingerie have they sent you?
And I'm the proud bearer of 6 pairs of silk boxer shorts from Victoria's Secret. So it's no difference. It's the same thing.
That's right. You're finding that if you were courting these women, it would have been the same. But you said that you don't believe in womanizing, but you have to make a spiritual connection before you can sleep with these women. So how goes your spiritual connections lately, Michael?
What I mean, oh my God. Well, the thing is because Cosmo mentioned the book, Inside Passage. They go to the bookstore, you know.
Right, this helps to sell your book.
Wherever, it's incredible. From Mississippi, Texas, everywhere. And they go out and they read the book, and it's written in the first person, so they get to know me. But I don't know them over one phone call or one letter. So there's got to be a lot of, you know, conversation back and forth before we finally agree to get together. Because, again, it's got to be here.
You know, the absolute extraordinary part of this, and I mean this quite sincerely, this book is a very beautiful book, but it's about a man who goes to find himself and his soul, and does. I mean, gets and makes spiritual connections with animals, meets a man who I guess is best defined as a medicine man who's extraordinary and operates on a truly spiritual plane. And then ends up in Cosmopolitan as Bachelor of the Month. And they're really two different things trying to...
I lived basically alone as a Trappist monk on the island. And in the north, further north in Canada, women are an endangered species. For every one man, there's 10 females. Or every 10 men, there's 1 female. So to come off of the island...
Oh, Mary!
You have to get the next issue of Alaskan Men. There's a lot of cute guys in there. They're down to earth.
They're just good people.
Yeah, and they're looking for like the mail order brides and all that. But ignore the centerfold. Don't have anything to do with him.
Yeah, he's real busy. He's got a couple of 3,000 women. What an extraordinary life you're having, an extraordinary time. We'll come back and talk with this Trappist monk type turned Cosmopolitan Bachelor of the Month author of Inside Passage right after this. Let us talk a little about the book called Inside Passage and how you came to drop out from the world for 1.5 years. What happened?
A lot of us see movies or we read a book that's pivotal to changing our lives. And I had seen a book when I was living in Aspen called Jeremiah Johnson with Robert Redford about a mountain man who forsakes it all, goes up into the Rockies to try to live like an Indian. And this was in the 1860s. And I came out of the theater and I said, I wonder if 100 years later there's a place on earth, there's still a swatch of wilderness where a person could go and have that same experience. Be careful what you ask for. 2 months later, I was living on an island 200 miles north of Vancouver, in about 100 years back in time. Very, very primitive.
What had you been doing? What was your living before you got there? You were
I was a ski bum. I graduated from college, took a year off just to ski and to do some writing as well.
We have some, where are we now?
This is right near the island, and the best mode of transportation is in a kayak if you want to observe wildlife, because you could paddle right along the shores without making any noise and see wolves and cougar and deer. But that was basically my life with no people around for 360 degrees. I was primarily by myself. No dates, not one, not even on Saturday night.
But then there were times when you, when life wasn't so peaceful and smooth. You were in a couple of life-threatening situations, got yourself caught in a real bad storm one day.
80-mile-an-hour winds. I was out in a boat and nearly died. So that was a close one.
And the man who owned the place you live in, Will Maloff. Will Maloff is rather. I call him a medicine man. I couldn't think of another term. I'm probably incorrect, but he's extraordinary man.
Fantastic man, a sort of a Renaissance man, jack of all trades. He was a blacksmith, a chiropractor. He had cancer that he healed himself of.
He had a big tumor in his lung.
Right.
Now, he'd been diagnosed, and they'd had the x-ray of it, and he went off and healed himself.
Right.
By creating some sort of rays or inner...
Well, he feels, and I feel this myself, that we lead lives inferior to ourselves, that we're capable of so much more. I mean,
we lead lives inferior to ourselves.
Yes, and that Einstein says we only use 2% of our brains, and I mean, it's a horrid story, but oftentimes you'll read of a woman that's backing down the driveway and maybe she runs over a pet. She'll get out of the car and she's as petite and small as you are, and she's able to just pick the car right up.
Right.
I mean, we have this dormant power and energy that's there on call all the time, but most of the time we don't tap into that. And Maloff was the type of individual that was able to. And he was literally able to heal cancer and also heal other people that would come to him.
You left after 1.5 years and wrote the book, and now have got yourself involved. We've gone from this, from touching whales, having extraordinary experiences with animals, a man who heals himself of cancer, and you end up in Cosmopolitan Magazine's Bachelor of the Month. You got 3,000 women from all over the world who are after you.
Well, it's
now
we can joke about Cosmo and make light, but I'm learning something. There was a Russian mystic named Gurdjieff, and he wrote a book called Meetings with Remarkable Men. And the women that I have met, including Clara, who's here in the audience, if I had to write a book right now about my experiences, I would call it Meetings with Remarkable Women.
Are you, in fact, going to write a book about all of this?
Because one of the things I've learned...
We run out of time. We'll continue talking, but we will have you back to talk about this. Go ahead. What are the things you've learned?
Is that men do not listen. Okay? And when women have a problem, they don't want the male to problem solve, throw it over their shoulder, and move on to the next problem. They want to be commiserated with for a while and just held and talk through it and listen to it, rather than bang, let's solve it and move on to the next thing. So, big difference.
So you are going to write a book. Encounters with Remarkable Women, is that the title?
Yes, working title.
It's a good title, I like that.
Yeah, because they've all been remarkable. I've learned of volumes. You know, from
have you changed? Has it changed you radically as a man?
Incredibly.
Really?
Yes.